Greetings. Think about your favorite video game franchises. What defines those distinct experiences? Video game development for an already well-established video game is a balance. The success in making a well-received video game sequel relies on this balance. What am I, hypothetically as a video game developer, going to innovate while maintaining the core foundations of what makes the beloved series so beloved to begin with? If I try to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, I risk possibly alienating my core player base. If I choose a more conservative approach to this development, then I risk making a product that's essentially a one-to-one replication of something that people have already spent time making. Killing Floor is a franchise that I've only recently begun to develop a soft spot in my heart for. Battlefield is a franchise that I've had a lot of time over the years with. Both of these games are currently developing a sequel that aims to innovate and upgrade from their former installments. And the element that these games share is a class-based role. The developers of both of these games are going to try to adjust this class-based role, but the player base is not going to let these developers stain a critical component of these franchises. Killing Floor 2 is a game that I've recently been able to pick up for about $1.49 on the Xbox store. During this time, I was able to convince a handful of my friends to pick it up while this game was on this very intriguing sale. Now, what is Killing Floor? Killing Floor is a co-op wave-based zombie horde first-person shooter with light RPG elements in the form of a class system. This game is a blast to play with a group of friends. It features a plethora of weapons to be able to play around with, along with the class system called the PERK system that gives different bonuses for using PERK-based weapons and equipment. Now, the series have always allowed someone to be a certain class while being able to use any weapon in the game regardless of someone's class. This allows people to be able to experiment with a multitude of weapon and equipment loadouts and combinations. Because this game is mainly a PvE game, the developers are not worried about balancing the perks and classes because players are not going to go against each other. Now, what this means is that if there was a meta, or in other words, the strongest build in the game, it is more or less not going to affect the playstyle of other players that are in the same game. The development of Killing Floor 3 saw the perk system locking weapons behind certain perk classes. This makes the game seem more like a hero shooter, mechanic-y like, again locking certain weapons and abilities behind a perk, while also locking characters and avatars to certain perk classes. The community had something to say about this. Battlefield is a franchise that I have a lot of love and time with. Battlefield 3 is one of the most nostalgic games to me in my lifetime. The whole aura with that game was ethereal in retrospect. Battlefield 4 will go down as one of the pillar games of the franchise, furthering what Battlefield 3 was able to do with a beautiful Frostbite engine and delivering an experience loved by the community. Battlefield 1 was another great experience in the franchise, which this game became one of the biggest and beloved World War I games of all time. My personal favorite game in this series is Battlefield 5, which was faced with a lot of baseless scrutiny, in my opinion. One example of this baseless, stupid scrutiny is that people didn't like how you could play as a female in a World War II game. With all that aside, Battlefield 5, in my opinion, had peak in-game Battlefield mechanics, and this should be the foundation of all Battlefield games moving forward. that could possibly be another video for another day. Battlefield, for those who don't know, is a multiplayer first-person class-based shooter where people are fighting in large-scale battles, flying fighter jets, manning tanks, and engaging in intense infantry combat. Battlefield, like Killing Floor, also has a class system where you pick a class and you have different abilities and equipment based on which class you pick. The difference is that since this game is not a PvE game, PvP is its main focus when developers are trying to balance out the gameplay. Traditionally, Battlefield weapons are locked to specific classes. This means that if I was in a recon class, I can only use snipers, for example. If there was a specific type of strong character build or meta, it could only be used if you equipped that certain class. This still leaves room for other classes to be used due to the different equipment needed to solve the different problems that may arise when dealing with this all-out large-scale warfare. Battlefield 2042 is a game that wanted to reinvent the wheel in this case. 2042 allows for any class to use any weapon regardless. This essentially devalues the class system and reduces the significance of the roles that were so already beloved and established. Battlefield's upcoming sequel announces that it will basically be doing the same thing that they did in 2042, with letting any class use any weapon. The community had something to say about this. The Killing Floor developers' Tripwire response to the feedback about the class system is in this case different from how Battlefield EA developers responded. Killing Floor 3 wanted the PERK/class system to have exclusive weapons set for that class. Battlefield 6 wants to again open the gates for all PERK/classes to be able to use any weapon they choose. These two games share the class system but are divided by the genre of the game and the elements that the games entail. Both developers aim to break the established fabric of their class system. The community wanted Killing Floor to retain its PERK/class flexibility for all perks and classes and weapons. Tripwire took this feedback and listened to the community. Killing Floor 3 was set to release earlier this May of 2025. Now they're letting the game cook a bit more before they release the product. This gives them time to be able to make the adjustments that the community wants, and now aim to release it late July on the 24th. Electronic Arts, or EA, disregards the community feedback that was projected all through the Battlefield 2042 lifestyle and now the Battlefield Lab/Battlefield 6 cycle. They have recently announced that they will move forward in allowing any class to use any weapon. There has been a great community bashing of this decision by EA. Now, this news has been relatively recent, only happened about 2 days ago. So I think that EA should have a week or so to be able to respond to the community. I personally think that EA is going to double down on their decision to make weapons free for all classes. This move will make monetization easier for the company because now they will be able to sell their skins and weapons for any class. Now, I'm excited for Killing Floor 3. I don't personally think it's going to be a big game as far as popularity goes, but it certainly deserves to be due to the love that the developers have for their community. Battlefield, on the other hand, has a less interesting future due to the actions that the developers have made over the past handful of years. Overall, I kind of hope that both of these games will succeed in the future. I think Killing Floor offers sort of a very unique and pick up and play type of game with how It's just a simple wave-based co-op shooter you can hop in and play with friends. And Battlefield is a series that I really love, and they've kind of been dropping the ball recently. So it would be very nice for them to sort of have a resurgence with this upcoming Battlefield game that they're sort of already have out, kind of with an alpha, beta that people are already playing.